All right, that should be it, I hope. So yeah, hello everyone. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present Project Proactive to you all and some of the work that we are doing with inclusion of disabilities in disaster risk reduction. My name is Åsa Burlin, and I work at Umeå University in Umeå, Sweden. And our role in this project is to coordinate and oversee the Civil Society Advisory Board, which I'm going to kind of focus this presentation on. It's a really important part of the project. But before I go deeper into that, I want to just give you a quick overview of the project. So Project Proactive is funded under Horizon 2020 under the Program for Research and Innovation. We have our coordinator in Paris, France, Grigore Havernana with the International Union of Railways. The consortium has 15 consortium members and a large extended network. We have synergies with 14 other projects. You can see them listed there at the bottom of the screen. We apply a mixed research methods and have completed 31 deliverables to date. And we are currently in the planning process of hosting our first field exercise in Dortmund, Germany, in the spring of next year is the plan. Of course, like with so many other projects, Proactive has had to schedule and reschedule and make alternative plans because of the pandemic. We were just recently awarded a significant extension because of the pandemic, and our new end date is up there on the screen. It's now August 2023, which whereas before it was April 2022. And so finally, at the end of the project, Proactive will have developed a web platform for practitioners, a mobile app for citizens, and new policy recommendations. And that mobile app is what I'm going to be talking about too here in just a second. But so the overreaching goal of Project Proactive is to enhance the preparedness against and response to a CBRNE incident through a better harmonization of procedures between various categories of practitioners and a better understanding of the needs of the various vulnerable groups within our civil society. And for those of you not familiar with the acronym CBRNE, it stands for chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and explosive substances. And so to that end, we have created two advisory boards. So on the one hand, we have the PSAB, that's the Practitioner Stakeholder Advisory Board, and it's comprised of various first responders, so police, fire brigades, paramedics, and things like that. And on the other hand, we have the CSAB, or the Civil Society Advisory Board, and it is comprised of various representatives of different groups within our civil society that are considered more vulnerable. And so right here, we have the current composition of the two boards. The fact that the PSAB is roughly twice the size of the CSAB is not intentional, but we have had just a harder time recruiting for the CSAB. There can be various reasons for that. There could be just a lack of experience of being involved with European Union projects like this. They may not know what to expect or what's going to be expected from them, but I really want to stress that the members we do have engaged in the project are very responsive, very alert, and very positive and just happy to be involved, which is really fun to see. And I also want to stress that we are currently not continuously recruiting for both boards. So if anyone is interested in joining either, please do go ahead and reach out to us, because the more the merrier, and we definitely want more. And so a little bit more clearly, currently on the CSAB, we have representatives for children, older persons, those with hearing and vision impairments, the mobility restricted, the chronically ill, those suffering from mental disorders, pregnant women, ethnic minorities, people with insufficient skills of the local language, the LGBTI+ community, and basically any and all groups that are more likely to need extra attention, more resources, and more support during a CBRNE incident. And they are represented on the CSAB by organizations, associations, individual experts, and also researchers and research groups. And so one of the things that we are developing in the project is an app to be used by regular people, the civil society, in the event of a CBRNE incident. And you might ask, aren't there enough apps? But no, there's actually not a citizen-directed CBRNE app currently available on the market. And even though CBRNE events are really rare, they do have the potential to cause a lot of damage and a lot of distress. And so it is really important, excuse my cat, that the public is educated and aware of what might go on. So for example, you have this image right here of a responder in a hazmat suit. If you don't know that that's what responders are going to wear, that could potentially be really intimidating. And so in developing this app, what we have to understand, of course, is that when you're dealing with the public, they're not a homogeneous group. And so to that end, we are using the concept of universal design. And of course, what we're doing continuously, excuse me, in the project and through the CSAP specifically is just involving the civil society. And again, specifically those extra vulnerable members of the civil society in every process of developing the app in this case. So the concept of universal design, as I'm sure many of you know, is basically the idea that when you take something and you make it better and more accessible for one group of people, you're likely to at the same time make it better and more accessible for multiple other groups as well. So for example, if you put in a ramp for people with wheelchairs, you're at the same time making the building, if that's what you're putting it at, more accessible for parents with strollers, postal delivery people with trolleys, etc. And so the basic idea here is that the design of products and environments should be used to the greatest extent possible by people of all ages and abilities. And so then these are the 7 principles that we have used to guide and are still using to guide the development of the app. Equitable use, flexibility in use, simple and intuitive use, perceptible information, tolerance for error, low physical effort, and size and space for approach and use. So I'm just going to walk through these kind of quickly, as I know that time is running. So in equitable use, there's just one app for all users. We're not making a special app for those with vision impairment. We're not making a special app for the deaf. It's colorblind friendly for everyone. There are no flashing images, which could, for example, be disturbing for people with epilepsy. There are audio options, voice control options, and sign language interpretation available. There's flexibility, so you have different settings within the app. Translation is available, it's zoomable, and there's an easy read mode available. This is a very good example of how the process of involving the CSAB. So simple and intuitive use is of course something that we strive for. So on the left-hand side, you can see the layout before we consulted the CSAB and asked if it was in fact simple and intuitive. So some of the feedback you can see here that we got was that they wanted less text, bigger buttons, a red button, for example. Some of the icons were not clear what they meant. Maybe it was clear to us, but it wasn't clear to the audience. So then we switched it, because if it's not clear to the audience, what's the point, right? So you can see here clearly how what we started out with, we asked what they thought, and then we changed it. And that kind of really represents the process here really well. The information should, of course, be perceptible, screen reader compatible, keyboard compatible. The data is available both as plain text, which can be read by a screen reader, and also in downloadable documents that then can, of course, be printed out if you prefer to have the information printed in a physical copy, paper in hand. There's a tolerance for error. So the idea is that eventually citizens will be able to report suspicious CBRNE events through the app, but none of the events will be made public to the general population before a professional has reviewed and verified that this is in fact an event that we should alert people for. So in the event of error, whether that's intentional or not, it'll still pass that kind of check before anything's made official. Of course, you want low fiscal effort, minimize the number of clicks, and we are striving to have the app as compatible as possible with assistive technologies available, so screen readers and things like that. And it should also be able to be used on your mobile phone, your tablet, or your computer. But it's worth mentioning that the design of the smartphones and devices are, of course, out of our scope. And I want to add there too that if anyone listening is thinking, well, is it compatible with this, or have you thought about this? The answer might be yes, we have. I'm not the engineer, but they very well could have, and it just didn't fit into this presentation. But the answer could also be that no, we haven't, because we didn't know, and we want to know. And that's, we learn by hearing from people that actually use these assistive technologies. And so my email again will be at the very end. So please do reach out, because if there's something that we missed and that we just didn't think about, we are more than happy to learn. Here is just some additional reading for anyone interested in learning more about the project. The white paper is the latest edition, and it was recently published alongside the Project Coben form, and it's also available in our digital booth. And so that's basically it. If anyone is interested in learning more and joining the CSAB, please do reach out and let me know, because like I said, we are continuously recruiting and are hoping to grow the board. So thank you very much for listening.